namaskar. Ite aparada kichu na kumar. Thank you for your association.
Thank you for
I mean,
association,
every
Prabhu.
morning you're there, you smile, I like that. I like personal stuff, you know what I
Yes,
mean? And sometimes
absolutely.
devotees walk right by me like I'm invisible. Hey.
Yeah, I love when devotees smile and they hug each other.
And I look at the devotee's eye and I
Yeah.
say, and when they give me offer something, I say, thank you.
Yeah,
and
you always do that.
And then they look at me and they say, you're welcome. And it's just, I
Yeah.
need that.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
really need that.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
live for that. I mean, I joined this movement when I was 17.
Wow.
And I mean, I was going through trouble because my girlfriend broke my heart. And I didn't expect that, And there was a million girls I could have, but I was like, no, this one, And she went with some other guy. I was like, what? So I was suffering, and I was walking home one night. I was crying, and I started chanting Hare Krishna, the tune that George Harrison made of My Sweet Lord. So I was singing, Hare Krishna, sweet Lord, because I was so unhappy.
Okay.
But Krishna somehow gave me that blessing. Because when I was a kid, when I was 14, 15, 16, everywhere, I lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's a college town. And the devotees were there all the time. They would do Harinam, and they would give prasadam. They would give books. They would give incense. They would give me posters. I had big pictures of Krishna that they would give. You give a donation, they'd go, here's a book, here's a poster, here's prasadam. And they'd go to all the concerts. And there was a lot of concerts, and I was at every one. So every time I went to a concert, I'd see the devotees. And they'd give me prasadam. One time, I was coming across the bridge to the concert park, and the devotee said, hey, can you help me? And I said, okay. So he gave me a box of books, and he put a mridanga on me. So I'm walking across there with the mridanga and with a box of books, and I put them down, and they had a little area where the devotees were sitting. I put them down, and I started to walk away, and he said, wait. And he pulled out a sweet ball, and he said, here. And I ate the sweet ball, and I was like, wow, what is that? At the time,
that wonderful sweet.
Well, at the time, I wasn't eating any sugar. I was on a macrobiotic diet. I was eating brown rice and soybeans. I was like fruits and vegetables. I was like, no milk, no sugar. And he said, eat this. And I went, wow. I mean, that tasted so good. I was like, what was that? Anyway, that was how I was when I was a teenager. I always saw devotees, and I liked them. Sure. And it would be cold in the winter, and they'd be out there in dhotis having Harinam. And my friends, we'd have down coats and boots on, in
Michigan,
and we're freezing. And they're out there smiling and dancing, and the robes are flying, and we're like, these guys are really, they got something. Hare Krishna.
I know this voice.
Hey, Rishi. And we would see these guys out there in the snow having kirtan. And when you go up to them, they'd go, here, and they'd give you a piece of incense or a book or some prasadam. It was like, whatever it was, I always liked them.
Absolutely.
So, and then one day I was riding my bike down the street, and Indra Bharta stopped me, gave me a piece of incense, and said, give a donation. I gave him $5, and he gave me a Gita.
Okay.
So I took the Bhagavad Gita home, my apartment with.
How old were you back then?
I was 16.
16, okay.
So I took the Gita home, and I already knew about it, but I'd never read it. But I heard of it, and I'd seen it.
Okay.
And so I gave it, my friend was sitting there, and I said, check this out, the Bhagavad Gita. And he opens it up, and he goes, and he started reading something about denying the senses and celibacy. And my friend looked at it and went, what? And he just put it up on the shelf. He said, that's just too much for him, not ready for that yet. So that's where the Bhagavad Gita sat on the shelf for a couple of months.
Sure.
And then a couple of months later, without any thought, I joined a van, a traveling Sankirtan van. I was walking to a concert. It was chilly. It was cold because it was October. And I saw the van full of devotees pull into a gas station. And me and my friend are walking to the concert. I said, I'm going to go over, and I know they're going to the concert. I'm going to ask them for a ride. And my friend said, I'm not riding with those guys. And I said, see you later. And I went over and I said, hey, you're going to the concert? And Rigendra said, get in. And so I got in the van. And the first thing he does is hands me a Bhagavad Gita. And I said, I have that. So he said, okay, he took the Gita, and he gave me 2 Bhagavatams, a Nectar Devotion, and a TLC.
Wow.
And I got a pile of books. That's the first thing that happened. And he goes, can you give a donation? I happened to have $90 in my pocket. So I gave him a couple of 20s. And then he found another book, and he gave me another book, and then I gave him I finally said, here, just take it. I gave him the $90.
You gave it all?
I just gave it to him. I didn't, it was a hippie. I didn't really, And and they just started telling me about Krishna.
Sure.
And I said, oh, I know about Krishna. I got the incense, I got the posters, I got a Bhagavad Gita. And,
but till then, you never read that. Right?
Never touched it, never. Now, we had a Krishna book in my friend's apartment that we don't even know where it came from, but one of those big silver Krishna books. And my brother was reading the story of one of Lord Shiva's stories in there. So we had read a little bit of Prabhupada's words. Okay. 2 pages,
not
maybe. But I always liked them, and I never had anything against them. Like when my friend said, I'm not riding with them, I was like, oh, what are you, nuts? These people are nice. I'm going with them. When I got in that van, I just wanted to ride to the concert. I had no idea.
Sure.
I never left. I joined that van. They said, we're going to have a kirtan now. So they chanted. And they're in dhotis. You know, we had a kirtan in the van for about 20 minutes. And then they stopped and they said, now we're going to do what we do. And I said, well, what do you do? And he said, well, we give these books to everybody here. There was 20,000 people at the concert. So they took off their dhotis and put on karmi clothes and hats and wigs.
And why is that?
Because it's a lot easier to approach people when you're not dressed like, especially in 1973.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You walk up to somebody with a bald head and a ponytail, and they're like, some people would go around.
Okay,
you know, so they put on karmi clothes.
Sure.
And they go, you want to help us? And I was like, I wanted to go to the concert. But I thought if I tell them I don't want to help them, they're going to know I'm an insincere idiot. So I said, well, okay, what do I do? So they gave me a book bag full of books and about a quarter kilo of incense, a big wad of incense tied up, you know. And they go, just give them the stick of incense and then say, give a donation, give them the book. Oh, okay. So these people are coming in, 20,000 people, and people know me. My friends are going, McCready, what the hell are you doing? And I'm going, here, have a piece of incense. Here's a book. Give a donation.
And that's it.
And that was it. And I did that for that hour before the show. And then at the end of that, the devotee said, you want to go in the show or you want to come with us? And I was like, I'll just go with you. So I sold my ticket and I went in the van.
Oh, you sold your ticket?
I said, who needs this nonsense? You know, I was with the devotees doing Sankirtan.
Having more fun.
I had no plan on this at all. It just happened. Sure. My mood was, if I tell them I'm not going to help them, they're just going to think, what a loser, he's useless. So I said, all right, I'll help. You know, and I thought I'd do it for a little while, then I'd go to the concert. But after I did Sankirtan for an hour, I didn't want to go to the concert for some reason. I don't know. So they said, we're going out to the temple, blah, blah. So we drove to the temple, and the first thing that happened to the temple, Govardhan, the president, came down with a giant maha plate, and on that maha plate was halava and gulab jamuns and hot milk and, you know, stuff that I haven't been eating. Haven't touched it for like a year, you know. I was like worse than vegan, you know. It was like macrobiotic is what they called it. And he goes, here, and you make a plate. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God. You'll have a drink, hot sugar milk. Wow. I was like, oh, wow, you guys, this is far out diet. And then they said, 10 minutes later, they said, we go to bed early because it was already 10:30. So we get up really early. I had no idea how early. So I went in the brahmacharya ashram, I fell asleep. And 2 seconds later, it seemed like they're ringing, they're banging cartels going, everybody up, brahmacharis, get up, it's 4 o'clock. And I was like,
really? What? I just slept. Like
No, I tell you the truth, that night, right before they woke me up, I had a dream about Krishna. I mean, Prabhupada saved me. I was in the dream. There was this huge spider and I was killing it. And right when I went to kill the spider, I became the spider that was going to be killed. And I went, help! And Krishna appeared just in my, and then I heard clang, 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 get up. And I woke up, I was like, whoa! And I told the brahmacharya, I said, I had a dream about Krishna. And he goes, yeah, right. So I went and took a shower. They put a dhoti on me, put tilak on me, and I went to Mangalar.
Did you? Wow.
And then that morning after Prasadam, Prabhanu, who was the leader of the traveling party, he said, well, Bhakta Dan, you want to go back to Ann Arbor or you want to come out on Sankirtan? I said, well, let's go on Sankirtan.
So your parents never cared? Like you were going here and there?
I was a hippie, all right? I didn't live at home already.
Oh, you didn't.
When I was 15, I moved out of my dad's house.
Okay.
They didn't like it. They were freaked out, but it was the 60s. I mean, nobody was stopped. Sure. I had hair down here and earrings. I was taking a lot of drugs. You know, it's a hippie. And
so I you were just living outside anyway?
My friends and me had an apartment. My dad would come over every Saturday morning and take me to the farmer's market and buy me vegetables and honey and fruits because he knew I was a vegetarian and he also knew, he didn't know we were selling pot. So we did have some money, but he didn't think. He said, "You don't have any money. How can you afford to live?" I don't know. And he'd come over and give me money. But
you're selling part.
it was the 60s.
That's how the culture was.
What's better than cocaine or heroin?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure,
it's just marijuana. It's herbs. But that's how we paid our rent.
Right.
But when the devotees asked me, "So, do you need to go home?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said no. And they said, "Well, do you have anything at home?" Devotees. I said, "Well, I got 300 albums, records, and I got a guitar." And then, "Well, let's go to your house."
Oh, really?
So we got my stuff.
Okay.
Went down on the street in Ann Arbor and sold my records.
You sold your record?
The buddy sold all my. He goes, "Wow, you got 300 records. We get $5 each for these things."
Wow.
So we went out on the street and sold all the records.
Wow.
and
they kept the money, or you got the money?
No. It all went for Sankirtan.
Okay.
Hey.
Wow. Yeah. So now you belong to Krishna.
I'm Bhakta Dan, and these are my brahmachari friends. All there was 5 guys in that van, and they were just surrendered brahmacharis for book distribution. So I didn't join a temple.
Sure.
I joined a van. I joined a traveling Sankirtan van.
Wow.
Now, that party, we went out for 4 or 5 days distributing books. Mm-hmm. And every day, Prabhupada would say, "Bhakta Dan, you want to go back to Ann Arbor?" And I go, "Nah."
Yeah.
And we'd go out in Sankirtan. One day, I fell asleep in the van, and they drove to their home temple, which was 200 miles away. It was in Cleveland.
Wow.
And I woke up, and we're in Cleveland. I was like,
wow.
So, and it happened to be Sunday, so I went to my first Sunday feast. And that Sunday feast, we had these crazy kirtans, really ecstatic, and the prasadam. I mean, they had samosas and pakoras and sweet rice. I mean, it was like, and sabji with curd. And I was like, wow, I want to surrender, So I shaved up. That night I said, I want to shave up, because I had this crazy hair. And I felt so weird around the devotees.
Sure.
I'm like a lion, and they have clean shaven heads. And I'm like, So I shaved up that night, and that was a week after I got in the van, and that was it. I got the mercy somehow or other. I can't believe it. I tell that story because people ask me.
Great, wonderful.
I always laugh because it seems so weird. But,
so that's how you started.
And that date, because I looked back on the date of that concert, it was 10/08/73, so it was 108.
108.
Yeah, it was October 8th.
Wow.
I don't know. I didn't plan on it.
Absolutely.
It's Krishna just
Krishna's plan.
Said, hey, Jiva, you want to come home? And I was like, well, okay. Who knew? I was raised Catholic, which is pretty much not very religious at all. We're Irish. And my family drank a lot. And, we went to church because we had to. My grandma would make us go to church, but we were not religious. My father didn't even believe in it at all. He just did it because we're Irish and we're Catholic, and it's something you have to do. Like every Sunday we go to church, and every Friday you could only eat fish. They couldn't eat meat. So that was about it as our religion goes. We didn't have religion.
But did your parents or anybody in the family, they were opposed?
No. They were so happy because when I came home that day to get my stuff, my mom calls my dad at the office and he goes, "You know what the Hare Krishnas are?" And he goes, "Yeah, those bald-headed nuts on the street," because they were dancing in Detroit where he worked too. And she said, "Well, your son's one of them." And he goes, "What?" And she goes, and listen to this. They don't allow drugs or alcohol or sex.
Wow.
And my dad goes, "He'll be back in 3 days." And I was already a vegetarian, so they knew that I had that in common. And they'd smelled the incense, seen the posters, and they knew I was into Eastern stuff, but they didn't know I was going to shave my head and join the temple.
Wow.
So my father couldn't believe it. After 2 months, he flew down to Cleveland just to see what's he really doing. He's probably doing something bad.
Is he still there?
So he comes to the temple, and he came to the evening program. So he attended the Arti, the Tulsi Puja, and the Bhagavad Gita class. My father just sat in there in his 3-piece suit like a bhakta. The funniest thing was after the program, they gave him prashadam. You know what they gave him? Halava, gulab jamun, sweet milk, and a puri with powdered sugar on it. And my father's eating it and goes, "Geez, this is pretty rich. You guys eat this." He goes home to Ann Arbor and he goes, He's really living there in an ashram. There's celibate monks. There's no drugs, no alcohol, nothing. He said, but the funniest thing is all they eat is donuts. That's what he said. And my parents were like, he don't eat donuts. He's a macrobiotic hippie. He eats brown rice and miso. My dad was like, all they ever eat is donuts.
That's
well, picture
how
that.
I felt that. Yeah.
Picture that plate with a gulab jamun. Nobody's ever had a gulab jamun in America. What the hell is that?
Yeah, they have a spherical shape.
They have a donut hole.
Right,
yeah, but this is not full of juice.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So my dad ate the gulab jamun. Whoa. And then there's a white puri with sugar on it. And all of them. And some hot milk with sugar. My parents just died. They go, what happened
about that, right?
Now he just eats donuts. And we laughed about that for decades. You should see what they eat. They just eat donuts. You know, he didn't see the rice and dal and chapatis and sabji.
I can't believe that.
So they liked it because my father, he said, thank God for Prabhupada. He stopped my son from being a hippie.
Sure, yeah. And dying out with the drugs.
I was taking drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, some of my friends, 3 of my friends died.
I'm sure, yeah.
When they were 18, 17, and the other one was 15. 3 of my friends died.
Wow.
And my dad's like, oh my God, you know, my son's going to die. He's a crazy hippie on drugs. Oh my God.
Yeah, at least he was happy.
And who knew that, you know, Hare Krishna could save them?
Yeah.
And my father said so many good things about Prabhupada and the movement, and he gave me a lot of money. My dad had a really good job. He was a marketing manager for Ford. And over the years, he probably gave me 60 grand. Maybe more. He bought me 10 cars. He's
always very supportive in the sense.
Kid.
Yeah.
He really loved me, and he was really worried about me when I was 14, 15, 16. And then when I joined the movement, he's like, oh, thank God, he's okay. Because I was normal, you know what I mean? I wasn't high.
How many siblings did you have? Do you have?
4 brothers, 2 brothers, 2 sisters.
Older, isn't it?
I'm in the middle. I have an older brother, and then I have younger brother, younger sisters. And they all like Krishna. Most of them are vegetarian. The whole family pretty much became vegetarian.
After you joined?
Yeah.
Wow.
We would come home and I would cook for them. And they'd say, oh, please, come and cook. Come on, cook.
Like
we'll buy the ghee.
Oh, they
buy the ghee. I make the stuff. They love fried curd sabji and garanga potatoes. Whatever I make, they're like, oh my God.
I remember food having at your home. It was delicious. You cook very well.
People like to eat. Yeah. And even people that thought Hare Krishna was weird, they said, I don't know about them, but the food is really good.
I know.
Anyway. So before my time's up, I want to share this verse. This verse is this is from the 3rd canto. It's Kapila, Lord Kapila speaking to Devahuti. And this verse is pretty much what I've based my whole career of Sankirtan on. This is the famous, it's 3:25-21, which says, Tatikshava karunika surida sarvadehinam ajata shatava santaha sarava sarabhushanam. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he's tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He's peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Now, Prabhupada says here, this purport, I've been reading this purport since I joined the movement, and this is Sankirtan. Prabhupada says that the sadhu, as described above, is a devotee, and his concern is to enlighten people in devotional service of the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service, the human life is spoiled.
Sure.
So he goes all over the country, from door to door, preaching, be Krishna conscious, be a devotee of Lord Krishna, don't spoil your life simply fulfilling your animal propensities. But then Prabhupada says, the most compassionate person is the sadhu because he's trying to save the others. But while engaged in preaching, he has to meet with so many opposing elements, and therefore the sadhu or the devotee has to be very tolerant. Someone may ill-treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive transcendental knowledge. They do not like it. That is their disease. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. Then he mentions Jesus Christ and Haridas Thakur. These devotees that have gone with the thankless task. And I just listened to a lecture 2 nights ago where Prabhupada was talking. He quoted this verse, and he said, sadhu has to preach, therefore the first qualification is tolerance. And he said, but it's tolerance and karunika, so he has to be tolerant and kind. He said, because there are so many opposing elements, so many people will attack him, and he has to fight with them. And believe me, I can testify over the last 49 years of doing Sankirtan, I've had to fight many, many, many times. When we were in the airports, people would come out and attack us.
Attack?
Oh, yeah.
Just because you're selling
Because
books?
they couldn't stop us because we had the court said we can do it. It's a public place, the airport. This is their religion. They're Americans. They're right. Free speech to do whatever. They walk up and say, want to buy a Gita? And you can say yes or no, but I have the right to do that. So we won the court case and they couldn't stop us, but oh, were they mad. They would pop the tires in the van. The employees at the airport would go out and pop all 4 tires in the van.
Really?
So we had to have devotees drop us off, and then they'd take the van back to the temple and then pick us up.
Oh my God.
And there's nothing you can do about it because you tell the cops are with them. You know, they hated us.
Oh.
And this is another part of my funny story. In the Cleveland airport, we went in the airport the first time and started distributing, and the cops said, you can't do this, we'll arrest you. So we had the ACLU lawyer come and say, all right, go to the airport every day and get arrested. And then after 20 arrests, we'll prove that it's police harassment and we'll get a temporary restraining order, which we did.
From the police?
Which we did. So I went out, and I don't know how I got the job. Okay. You know, but I did it, and I went out every morning. I distribute maybe for an hour, sometimes less. And the cops.
So they would arrest you despite of the court order?
Well, we got the court order after the arrest.
Okay.
We had to prove harassment. So, and then they handcuff you and take you to jail.
Wow.
Took 4 hours because they take fingerprints and pictures, and then you sit there, and then so I did that 20 times.
Oh my.
And that, you know, I didn't think about it, but I got a record.
Sure,
you know,
yeah,
it's on my record. 20 arrests.
Every time shows up.
It's a little arrest. It's a misdemeanor, but they didn't know what it was. I was applying for a permit, and they called me and said, "Mr. McCready, what are all these arrests back in the 70s in the airport?" They're like, "What the heck were you doing?" And I said, "I was distributing religious literature," and they went, "Why would they arrest you for that?" You know, they just thought, that's so weird. So I'd go out every day, I'd get arrested, and then the devotees would pick me up at the police station, and then we'd go out in Sankirtan outside somewhere.
Okay.
And then after those 20 arrests, a month later, we got the TRO, temporary restraining order. The police, we could walk right in and sell books. 4 devotees would walk in, start selling books, and the cops would just look at us.
They couldn't do anything.
They couldn't do anything.
Wow.
So the employees, they said, well, we'll get them. So they popped the tires in the van. And then we put the books in those lockers, and they'd come and they'd stick things in the lockers, so you couldn't open the lock. You couldn't get the key in. So everything that they would also do this. Now this is crazy. They would find books because you sell a lot of books. Some people put them down, and they would rip out a picture of Prabhupada or Krishna, and then take a pen, like kids would do, like mustaches and horns, and then tape it on the wall where I stand. These are grown up people, people in their 50s, managers at the airport. The second highest guy in the airport. He was crazy. He hated us. One time, we were out there distributing, and Manasa Chandra, his mom just bought him a movie camera. So he came out and said, well, film you guys. So he's filming us distributing books. And the second in command of the airport, he's a big guy too, like 6'6". He comes up and he goes, you're not supposed to be here. And Jiva and me, this devotee Jiva, he's about my size, a little guy. And the guy grabs the book bag. We had these cloth book bags that the women had made us. And he grabs Jiva's book bag, and Jiva holds onto it. And they're like going around and around. Manasa Chandra's filming it. And the book bag rips apart, and books go flying all over the terminal.
Funny incident.
And I go, zoom in on him, Manasa Chandra. And the guy goes, he sees the camera, and he freaks, and he leaves. You know, this is there was the manager, and he was the second manager of the airport. He was a big guy.
Right.
So we took that video to our lawyer.
To the lawyer.
And the lawyer said, this is beautiful. This is great.
Yeah.
I wish I had it. We had a copy of that tape.
Okay.
But somehow it got lost. It was, we used to sit there in the Brahmachari ashram and watch it on the wall. And we'd go, look, here comes, his name was Mr. Oberst. We called him Oberstasura. We go, here comes Oberstasura, and there's Jiva, and he grabbed that bag, and they're going around and around. The bag opens, the books are flying.
Wow, funny.
That was really, it even got even worse. At one point, some of these employees, they came out and they wanted to fight. They wanted to punch us. So we got some devotees that weren't book distributors, but they were bigger and they were into fighting, and they came out to the airport, and we had a a riot right in the airport. We started distributing, me
Terrible.
and Jiva and Perry Chan were distributing books, and then these thugs come up and
And
then our devotees come up and they start fighting. I mean, people were getting
Literally.
punched,
Wow.
bloody noses, boom, boom.
My
And I was like, I don't want a bloody nose,
Right,
or I don't
yeah.
want to lose a tooth, you know?
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like, hey. But then the cops
Yeah.
came and, arrested a bunch of people. But it's just, it never ended. In the airport, there was always some.
If there would have been some other person, they would have quit the airport place. Maybe they might have gone the other
Yeah,
place.
they didn't know who they were messing with. We were convinced that if we just distributed Prabhupada's books, Gaura-Nitai and Prabhupada were going to save the universe,
Yeah.
right? It's
You
the
could have
golden
gone to
fountain.
other place though, but only stick to the airport. And
Prabhu,
you were
the airport
stubborn.
is
Yeah.
it is controlled climate. You
sure.
understand? Rain, heat, who cares? Cold. In Cleveland, it's
Yeah.
freezing in the
Yeah.
winter.
Sure.
And we're inside,
Okay,
comfortably
having
distributing books in a legal spot. God, I wish I had an airport.
Yeah. But
been
you
a
could have
long
gone to
time.
mall or something.
And we did.
Yeah.
And they chased us out of the malls.
Yeah, mall is not a public place. Is it?
No, that's private property. And
Yeah.
they'd come out and say, if you don't leave right now, we'll have you arrested. But I did huge in the malls. Malls were huge, especially at Christmas time,
Sure, yeah.
Mother's Day, any holiday, everybody's in the mall.
Uh-huh.
We sneak around the malls, sell books. I've been sneaking around selling books my whole life. Basically, that's all I do. I go out on Sankirtan and I go to the temple. So I do my sadhana, I read Prabhupada's books every day, and I distribute them, try to take care of my family. That's my life. I'm a one-trick pony. All I know is Sankirtan.
Yeah, that's what they say, right? Make sure you complete your japa and read at least one paragraph from Prabhupada's book, and then go for
Yeah, I have to read. I read every day. What I do is after I chant my japa, I do a chapter of Gita, and I usually do Ishopanishad and Upadeshamrita. Then I do 19 pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I can complete it in 1 year. If you read 19 pages a day of CC, 1 year you read the whole CC. I've read it 8 times.
Wow.
So I just keep reading CC over and over and over again. I'm hoping it cleanses my heart.
Wow.
And
Beautiful.
And I also do some Nrsinga mantras for about an hour. For my kids and my family and everybody.
Sure.
In fact, I started a list with names, and everybody wanted to be on it. I have a list of 200 people on my list for the Nrsinga. I used to name the few because there was 10 or 12, and I can't name them anymore. So I say, please, protect this one, and all the rest on my list. Because it's a huge list.
Yeah, sure.
But Vaish wanted to be on it. Sesha and Madhamati wanted. Everybody I know say, hey, I want to be on your list. And because of that, it makes me do it. Because every day I'm thinking, all these devotees, they want this
they're
mercy.
counting on
so
you.
I'm doing it.
Yeah,
It started because Radha Sharma was sick. And they were really worried. The doctors couldn't figure it out. And they said, could you please chant the Nrsinga mantras for us? And I said, okay. So they gave me the Nrsinga Kavacha. But then a devotee gave me from Mayapur Gurukul the Nrsinga Stotram book. And it's got 50 different ones.
Sure.
So I do a lot out of that every morning, and that's what I do. And then after that, I go on Sankirtan. So 16 rounds, Bhagavad Gita, and I want to.
Sure.
Plus, I go to the programs. If you go to the temple, if you do nothing but just go to Mangal and Tulsi and Bhagavatam class and Guru Puja,
that's all.
That's all you need. Because I get up at 3 and I'm not done with the morning program till 9. So that's 6
hours.
So every
straight,
day, if you can do 6 hours of transcendental, because when I walk out of the temple, I'm usually in total Maya, but because I have 6 hours of sadhana,
sure.
I can get through the day. And I kind of take it like that, day to time, because I've never been peaceful with sense control. It's always been like a total challenge to me.
Right.
And
It's not easy.
I don't know how people do it, Yeah. So I know that if I practice, and like Vaish says, keep the vibration going. So I'm in the car, I'm listening to Prabhupada. I have a Prabhupada box that's on 24/7. You might just sit down and then you hear something and think, wow, listen to that. And Prabhupada's, because I have it on all the time. So anyway, hear, chant, and share. That's our thing. Hear it, chant it, fill up with Krishna consciousness, and then go out and give it to anybody that you get near. Anybody that gets near me gets a book, or at least I try to give them a book. If I'm at a gas station, I see somebody next to me, here's a book on yoga. And they go, wow, thank you. And I tell them it talks about how to get free from stress and find inner peace. And they go, I need that. Most people go, oh my God, get free from stress? How much is it? And I go, we don't sell them. People just give a donation. And people give a donation.
Okay.
And that's what I do.
Wow, that's
That's pretty
wonderful.
much all I do.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that details. So I have been trying to, get into this, book distribution as well. But somehow, my tolerance level is not that great.
Well, you have to
sometimes
get
I
out of
was
your
rejected.
comfort
I'm like,
it's hard to. We used to tell ourselves thrive on rejection.
mm,
Because and it depends, different days, different modes, different things happen. Sometimes I walk out, the first guy I meet gives me $20, loves it. Sometimes the first 20 people I meet say, no thanks, I'm busy, no. And you think, hey, wait a minute, what happened? Yesterday, it worked. So you keep going out. And I remember, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach, that the jivas are all wandering throughout the universe, lost.
mm-hmm.
But if they come in contact with the pure devotee and Krishna, it changes the whole deal. They get saved. And it's easy in the golden Kali Yuga. This is not just a regular Kali Yuga.
Sure.
This is Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what did he do? He gave prem.
Right.
Usually in the Kali Yuga, the other 999 Kali Yugas, there's a Gaur Vishnu, a Gaur incarnation. That's the Yuga Dharma. But you don't get prema. You go to Vaikuntha. This Kali Yuga, well, we did something right because we're in the golden age when Lord Chaitanya gives prema. And you go to Golok, not Vaikuntha.
Oh,
So this is a huge difference. Now, some people don't know this. But because they go, oh, it's Kali Yuga, it's degraded. No, this is a good Kali Yuga. You want to be here. This is the easiest way to get praying.
All you have to do is just...
Well, all you have to do is participate in Krishna consciousness and not be offensive. If you can just be nice to devotees. Because I've seen a lot of people do a lot of weird things, but they were respectful and they were nice to devotees and weren't offensive. That's what in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, Jagai and Madai were degraded, sinful, but they weren't offensive to the devotees until they hit Lord Nityananda. They got saved. When he hit Lord Nityananda, and Lord Chaitanya showed up, Chakra, he's going to kill him. And Lord Nityananda was like, how do I save them? So he said, oh, Prabhu, Jagai saved me today. And immediately Lord Chaitanya embraced Jagai. Jagai went into ecstasy, rolling on the ground, Astika Bhav. He was like, phew. And Madai's like, we always did everything together. Why are you giving him mercy? And Lord Chaitanya said, no, for you, no mercy. You've offended Nityananda. So he did go surrender to Nityananda. Nityananda told him, he said, you're my devotee. It's like if a son hits his father, it's no big offense. That's what Nityananda said. Because he hit him, broke his head, it's bleeding, and he gave him prem anyway. This is the nectar of this golden age. Gornitai are determined to save. I mean, if they save even me, they'll save anybody. So I think like that. When I'm out and it's so
You are so much elevated.
No. I just have the right job. And I like it. I like my job. Even on my worst day on Sankirtan, I like it. Hare Krishna Maharaj. I like to go out, even when people are like, no, they don't want it. I think, Bhaktisiddhanta said, if you approach somebody, try to give them Krishna, and they say no, Krishna gives you chid rakta, which is spiritual blood for your chid sarira. So your spiritual body gets spiritual blood for every time you're...
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do.
But the thing is that if everybody just takes shelter of Prabhupada, which is easy to do, he's got the books.
So read Prabhupada's book.
Read Prabhupada's books and follow. He said the most important thing is that you become Krishna conscious. That's the most important thing, is that you reawaken your love for God. That's the most important thing. Now, to get there, he knows who he's dealing with. That's why he made the program like it is. Mangal, Tulsi, Japa for 2 hours. Who sits down and does anything for 2 hours? I mean, except watch a movie or go to Disney. Most people don't just sit down and go, meditate, Hare Krishna, Hare. But if you do that, if you meditate, chant good japa. Bhaktisiddhanta said, you don't have to be a great devotee. Be a good devotee, but you have to chant great japa. So there's different times where people have to chant japa in different circumstances, but the best thing to do is schedule it in and say, here's my 2 hours or whatever it takes you. I'm doing my japa every day. And I've seen people pull out of all kinds of trouble just from doing the japa. Because that's the first thing. When I went in the temple, they said, chant 16 rounds and follow the regular principles. That's what they told me.
Okay.
And I said, okay, all right, I'll do it. And, it worked.
Okay.
It worked. I wasn't thinking, after a week going, I got to get out there and get some pot. Well, I was like, I was happy. I was peaceful. I was busy.
Yeah.
You know what we did when we came back from book distribution? We washed the pots. Come back from Sagertown, 10 hours.
Wow.
And I go, how do you vote, Bruce? I get down there and wash those pots, Brahmachari. So we washing pots, chanting. Hare Krishna.
Hard work. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
and you were happy.
Completely. And all of a sudden it'd be 10 o'clock. You're like, okay, you fall asleep.
And within few seconds, right?
Next thing you know, it's Mangalarti. But I just felt like Lord Chaitanya just took me. He just took me out of my old life, which was nothing. Stupid little hippie life with nothing going on, no plan. My father had money, so he always going, can't you go to school? Can't you get education? Can't you go to college? And I was like, nah, I'm busy, So then he finds me, and I'm reading books every day for 2 hours a day, reading them and selling them. He's like, that's all you do?
Wow.
He loved it. He was like, wow.
So most important thing is read Prabhupada's book.
If you associate with Prabhupada, however you do that, you can listen to him. I must hear 3-4 lectures a day.
Sure.
I have to. And when I'm in the car, I'm listening to Prabhupada. I'm driving on a second, I'm listening to Prabhupada. And when I fall asleep at night, I'm listening to Prabhupada. I have Prabhupada on all the time.
Wow.
Now, I also schedule in my reading. And it's important to me to do my reading. And my wife and daughter, they give me that space,
Sure.
I mean, I have a little Bhajan Kutir on the couch in my house. And I have a little table with a stack of books. And I go through these books. I read. If I don't read, I feel... Yeah. I just feel like I'm missing pride. Like you have to think, I got 24 hours in a day. I'm going to sleep 6 or 7. And the rest of the time, I have to give some time to Prabhupada.
Wow.
And how you do that is your choice. Whether you read, whether you listen, whether you can even chant extra japa. I know devotees here that chant 30 rounds and stuff.
Sure.
Not me, but I chant 17.
Sure.
It's like one extra, but I do it because I was told to. I don't have any taste. I just do it because I know I'm supposed to. And there are times during japa where I feel really good. But it's not like,
Sure.
oh boy, I'm tasting the nectar of Krishna. I don't. I'm too covered. But I do it because I promised I would.
Sure.
And Prabhupada said, you've promised in front of the Guru, in front of the deities, in front of the fire, and in front of the Vaishnavas. So you have to do this.
Wow.
So and it doesn't, nobody's excluded.
Sure.
Anybody can choose to do this.
Wow.
You can open, everybody's got the books,
right,
dust them off,
Yeah.
open one up and go, when the mind is perfectly purified by this practice of yoga, one should concentrate on the tip of the nose, half-closed eyes in the form of the Lord. And then you go, what? I want to hear the purport. And then you read, so I find myself, and my daughter too, somehow or other, she reads. She promised Vice she would read 10 pages of Bhagavatam a day, and now she's reading a chapter of Gita a day.
Oh, wow.
So that's what we do. And it's really fun, to sit with your daughter and read Bhagavatam.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And she tells me, I go, how do you like reading Bhagavatam? She goes, I go, what do you mean? She goes, I like it, but I only do it because Vaisheshika Prabhu told me to do it. Same with the japa. She chants 16 rounds. She sets her alarm and gives herself, because she's a full-time student. Plus she's got amazing, horrible issues with her health. But she's serious.
Sure.
And Prabhupada said, if you're serious and sincere, you can make spiritual progress.
Yeah.
And that just means serious and sincere. Serious means you take it.
Yeah.
And sincere means you do it even when nobody's looking. That's sincere. Because I go out in second, I can do whatever I want out there. There's nobody watching me. There's a bunch of karmis out there, right? I can do whatever I want.
Sure.
But Krishna is watching because he's in your heart.
Sincere.
You can't get away with anything.
Right.
He knows everything. And Prabhupada expects us to try.
Yeah.
That's why he gave us the morning program, because he knows us. He knows we need a lot. We need a lot of kata, a lot of spiritual. We got to clean the heart. That's the hardest thing. Anyway. But you're doing fine. I mean, you're a humble, sincere devotee.
I'm just doing, I'm following you people.
But Prabhu, you there every day. That's the proof. There's 230 Prabhupada disciples here.
Wow.
You wouldn't know that.
I wouldn't.
No one would guess.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah.
I'm right, they're old. But still, now I'm old. I'm going to be 67 in a couple months. But I'm not missing Radhe Sham's darshan. I don't know. They got to drive by here to go to public. I figure they come in. Hey, I'm still here, Lord. But
wow.
You know,
I enjoyed talking with you, Prabhu. Thank you.
I'm so glad you asked me, because I didn't want to do it, because I'm like, I'm full of myself, and you know, people have heard this before.
Yeah.
And Radhe just laughed. She said, "Why does he want to interview you?" I said, "Some people like me."
I love you, Prabhu.
I said, "Well, the thing is, I'm going to talk about Sankirtan, and you know, not everybody can, and so I like to do these things, because devotees will call me and say, "Could you do a Zoom and tell us about Sankirtan?" And I do it, and they love it.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I met some devotees from South America, and they came running up to me and said, "Prabhu, we loved your class." I was like, "What?" And they said, 3 months ago, you gave a Zoom. And I was like, and he quoted something I said. And I was like, "Get out of here." And he said, "Prabhu, we listened to Vaisheshika Guru and you, and we're inspired." And I was like, "Thank you, Krishna." That's a real gift. You know, because I go on Sankirtan to give people books, and I never see them again. You know what I mean? They take the book. Who knows what happens?
But they will remember you. You may not remember you.
Someday they'll be going. Somebody will say, "Where'd you get that book?" This guy, I met him at Walmart. He gave me a lollipop and a book. I don't know. I just feel like if I can just do this for the rest of my life, then I'm safe. I feel like Prabhupada will say, "All right, we'll forgive you for all your other nonsense. You went on Sankirtan for 50 years. You know?
Thanks for sharing.
Oh, Maharaj, I miss you already. I really like you. You're a sweet devotee, and